Hey guys, welcome back to Murder in Retrograde YouTube. So much to talk about today. I definitely feel like I'm eating my words a little bit, so I'm gonna give it to you, Britt, to
Yeah.
start us off because there is literally breaking news happening in real time right now. So tell us what's going on.
Yes. So the Alexis Sharkey case, the 26-year-old Instagram, I don't like calling her influencer because she
I know.
hated that name. So she was a model and a woman, and she was found dead. And Jenna and I made a whole episode about it. We talked about it so many different times, and Jenna's in all the Facebook groups and like really in there. And you know, we really didn't know which way it was going to go, but we definitely didn't think that a cause of death was going to be something that you would have been able to tell right when you saw her body, which, as we said, the people that found her said she looked clean, like she had just been bathed. So the autopsy was not released, but they did reveal the cause of death to be strangulation. And that's kind of, I mean, the first thing I thought of was how she's told her friends that her husband allegedly used to choke her out and she would wake up on the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously that was a red flag, but it just seemed like they're not arresting anybody. Certainly they would be able to pin it on him right away, but it seems like cops have been doing work behind the scenes as Jenna and I imagined they would be. And yeah, it looks like it allegedly might be the husband.
Okay, so the little background to I think why things are so slow too. I guess it has been like a record year in the Houston area or Texas area of like murders and crimes. So I think there is a lot of things for people to be investigating in law enforcement. And I think that's why it took a little bit too for the autopsy. I don't think they've
Autopsy.
said any.
I was curious about that because some people said like, why did it take so long?
Yeah.
And it's standard for it to take 3 months, and it took exactly 3 months. So
Oh,
there was nothing different
it
in
felt
regards to that.
so
But you're
maybe
right.
I watched too much Dateline where you're finding things off like right away. But a
Yeah,
lot of people were
exactly.
saying, this is records kind of crimes going on and in the area. But when you sent me this yesterday, I was shocked because I really felt, well, listen, I still think her friend is real thirsty and didn't need to be out talking as much as she was or responding to everything. I still think that that is completely narcissistic, like putting yourself in the middle of the investigation, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
He was so quiet, which is, I guess, another thing, but we just didn't hear a lot about him. And we didn't, and I think too, she might, and I don't mean this to be like too detailed or graphic, but it must have happened very close to the time that they found her because wouldn't you expect to see marks?
Absolutely. That is very strange. However, I was thinking about it, and if this was a common thing,
Oh,
maybe he knows, because I don't know anything about this. My husband's into MMA, and I know that you can like choke people out with an arm, well, not
oh,
an arm
true.
bar,
Right,
but
right. No, I
you
know
know
what
what
you
I
mean.
mean? So
Yeah.
maybe there are ways to do that without it being an obvious, ligature mark or something like that, or smothering. But even smothering, you can usually see
Right.
things in the eyes and stuff like that. But maybe her eyes were closed. And I mean, these
Yeah.
were two sanitation
Right,
workers. They
right, right.
clearly didn't know medically what you
They were
look
looking
for.
for,
So,
right. So yeah, I mean, with this information, I definitely am leaning more, and listen, we don't know anything about talks results either. And I know a lot of people that might know her were kind of, it seems like, upset that people were floating around a possible OD, but that doesn't mean, at least when we were talking about it, we were coming more from the point of view of an accidental. Maybe someone
yeah.
slipped her something. Maybe she took a little bit too much of something that she was used to taking microdose. We just don't know. But it was never like victim blaming. I want to be very clear
Absolutely
about that.
not.
Like it was just
No.
like maybe accidentally something got into her system, and that's kind of what we were alluding to.
It
But
sounded to me like something nefarious went on because was majoring in biology, and she was microdosing for depression and anxiety. clearly she was into organic products. She, like both of us, was very conscious of her health. And that's not saying she's a Google doctor and was,
Right, right.
whatever, but she was clearly on the path of wanting to be natural. And I don't think that she would have, overdosed on drugs on purpose or anything
Right,
like that.
right.
So maybe something was given to her.
Yeah, so now that we know, it really I would expect to hear that the husband's gonna be pulled in. I would imagine more now that they have this evidence, and maybe ask him for a statement again, see what's changing, see if they can get the ring video, see what other surrounding surveillance video. I think also a thing that's going to take a long time is the digital footprint of stuff that they have to go through because she's on her phone all the time. I'm sure they're combing through her phone, combing through his phone. He alleges that he was sorry, the winds are so bad. I wasn't sure if it was
I
my kid
know.
knocking or the wind. Sorry about that. It's like hurricane outside and
Santa
we
Ana
are not
winds.
used to that.
Mm-mm.
um but yeah, I just think we're going to start seeing things happening in a faster pace now that there's this information out there.
Definitely. And her poor mother,
Oh,
I feel Alexis's mother, Stacy Robinault, said in December that she had to fight Mr. Sharkey to bring Alexis's body home to bury
mhm,
her.
mhm,
And that was very strange to me. And originally, he was listed as her next of kin in the medical examiner's records, but that was changed later to her parents. That's strange to me too.
who has the authority to change that? It, I-
The
hmm,
medical examiner, I would
huh.
assume.
I don't think I've ever heard of that happening before.
I wonder, we could go back and look at like Lacey Peterson,
Oh,
or
that's a good idea.
because there's unfortunately several
Similarities.
times this
Yeah.
has happened. So gosh, I would assume they have some way of doing that,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
after the fact, they figure out that it's foul play. Oh, that's a really good question, Jenna. I'll look into that and I'll bring it back. But yeah, obviously we both were on the path of believing that it was the husband, and here you go. Here's proof. We don't know. We're
Yeah.
just, bringing you the information, obviously giving our opinions. Some of you commenters might not be okay with that. That's fine. Go
It's just
watch a
our
different
opinion.
video. I mean, I watch YouTube all day long. Never has it occurred to me to comment on somebody like something that I'm angry about. It's like
Yeah.
always like, anyway, whatever.
Keep scrolling.
Yeah, I mean, we completely admit that we are, speculating 100% unless we say otherwise, unless we have facts,
Mhm.
unless we have quotes, and we have sources on everything. So there
It
you
just
go.
goes to show as a little PSA, if something, God forbid, happens to someone in your family, Tanya, don't act like her because then you'll look real interesting and I would look at you. But,
Yeah.
just
And
a warning there.
allegedly, we still don't know who did it.
Yeah,
We
no,
we
we're
have
right.
no idea who was involved. It could have been more than one person, but
I think what's
you
tricky
best believe we'll be bringing you all of the updates.
right, and I think just with this cause of death, it seems very personal, and that's why now I think all eyes are gonna go to the person she's
Yes.
closest to, so ay, ay, ay. So kind of
Yeah.
pivoting, I'm gonna read off something, and I want you to see if you can guess what I'm talking about. Are you
Oh
ready? They're
boy. Yeah.
quotes. Let's see if you can
Okay.
tell me where it's from. Quote, "I need to drink your blood. I am 100% a cannibal. I want to eat you. You just live to obey me, be my slave. I will own you. If I wanted, this is so painfully cringy to read. If I wanted to cut off one of your toes and keep it with me in my pocket, so I always had a piece of you in my possession."
Unfortunately, I know exactly who you're talking about. Allegedly, Armie Hammer.
How?
This is the craziest story. I mean, it's been nice to have a reprieve from true crime, but it's extremely unnerving that this man is out there
Oh, yeah.
driving while drinking. And did you see that video?
No? So I was like, "Wait,
Oh my
what?"
gosh. There's so many videos. There's so many videos I saw. There's one of him, he's in a car with a guy, and then the guy gives him a handful of clear crystal rocks and he licks it. You didn't see that?
No!
And he's like, it's about to get crazy. And his eyes are just popping out of his head. And then there's another one where he has the phone on his steering wheel and he opens a beer and he drinks it and he's driving. Yeah. And these are things that he's sent to his friends
So
and
this is
stuff like
probably
that.
from his Insta because it came out like the last couple of days. He has a Finsta like a friend's
Yeah.
Instagram, and I think that's where they had pulled something else because he had a picture of like a girl's like bending over in her ass, and he's like the best thing about being back in the Cayman is Mrs. Cayman's like ass or
Universe.
effing her or
Yeah.
whatever, and then he had to come out and apologize because he was like, it's not the actual Mrs. Cayman or
Wait,
Mrs.
he apologized for that?
Yeah. He came out and said, I wonder if I have the quote here. I don't think I do, of course.
Because
But
this is what happened. He divorced his wife a few years ago. They have two kids, young
yeah.
kids, and for some reason I think the wife is most comfortable in the Caymans during COVID. So
Mhm.
that's where they've been hunkering down,
Yeah.
and he posted his divorce paper where it said that he had to be drug tested by somebody that they both agreed upon, and he posted on his Finsta, which I didn't know was friend's Instagram. I thought it was fake Instagram
Oh, maybe it's fake. I
because
could be wrong. I don't know.
kids do it. So they have like one and their parents think like, "Oh, this is their
That's
Instagram."
probably
And they
better because Friends is like that's what it's all for.
yeah. The fake one is yeah, for for your parents and then your or your whatever. I don't know. I'm confused. So
What the kids
it's
are
too
calling it
much.
these days.
I would never be able to have that many pseudonyms online. Um I kind of lost my train of thought. So he posted in his divorce papers that he had to get tested. And then he said, the wife wants me to come to the Caymans again to
Right.
see the kids, but I have to get drug tested. And then he took a picture of a drug test
Yeah.
from
So
CVS.
okay. So this is I just pulled up the article so I can make sure I'm not talking myself. But it says so he shared the a picture of the lady's bum is what I was talking about. And it says something about having to go to the Caymans, which sucks, blah, 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 blah. And he says there are a few silver linings like effing Miss Cayman again while I'm down there. And then the committee was upset. So he came out and said, oh, it says in an audio statement released to the Cayman Compass, Armie said he was sorry for incorrectly referring to an unnamed woman as Miss Cayman in the video that was leaked. He added, my deep sympathies to Miss Cayman, who I do not know, and to the entire organization, as I had no intentions of implying she was actually Miss Cayman. Like foot
They
and
said that,
mouth constantly.
but wait a second. It says audio message
Yeah.
from Army.
Yeah.
That's very strange. See, I want to know what's going on the other side because I used to work in the celebrity assistant world.
Right.
And anytime I see something going on, I'm like, oh gosh, what is their assistant going through right now? Because I guarantee you his people would never have let him leave an audio message because he's clearly on drugs. So he must have done that all on his own. But anyway, the what he did was he said, yeah, it sucks. I have to go back to the Caymans, but at least I can F Miss Cayman again. And he goes into his hotel room. Did you watch the video?
No, I didn't
And
see
he's
any
show
videos.
oh my gosh, he's so obnoxious. And people have accused him of being a narcissist. That's what it
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah.
He's showing the hotel room. He's like, yeah, pretty nice. He's at the Ritz-Carlton, Cayman Islands. He's like, bathroom's cool. And you know what he's like the shtick. And he's like, here's the closet. He's like, bed looks comfy. And he pans over her on all fours, but you can't see her face. He's like, but that's not that interesting. Let me see the balcony. Like treating her like she's just a piece of furniture on the bed. It's really, really scary. And he was there to see his children.
Yeah, he's okay. I remember when he came out in The Social Network. That was the first time I ever saw him. And I was
Yeah,
like,
me too.
wow, like he is so good looking. Like he's like tall, handsome, he's comes from a line of wealth. And anyways, I just remember being like, oh, okay. But
Yeah.
then when this started happening, I kind of looked back and it seems like he's had a history of like weird behaviors. And I think he's really gotten away with it because probably his family, probably because
Yes.
he's very good looking and he's in Hollywood.
Money.
So
Money.
it's like,
He's loaded. He's related to Armie Hammer. I
yeah,
mean, have you ever heard of baking
yeah,
soda?
right.
And then Hammer, because I was also in the art world, he was a prolific art collector, like amassed the most amazing collection. And now there's the Hammer Museum at UCLA. And so he's always, I see him in the art scene, like he takes his kids to all those events and looks like cookie cutter, perfect family. They're making crafts at the table and he's smiling because his name is all over every building. And then you think this is the same person that's telling women he wants to break their ribs and hold their
Oh yeah. So
beating heart.
let me read a couple more quotes because it's wild. So when this all came out originally on the House of Efi is the name of the Instagram that started kind of releasing these quotes and what was happening. So once all that came out, he had two ex-girlfriends that came out and gave I don't know if you call it a statement, but they talked and said first. So the first one is Courtney Vuskovic. I probably said that.
Vuch,
Vus
Vuchkovich.
Vuchkovich.
Vuchkovich. I love
So they
Russian.
dated for a short time, but she came out and said, quote, "He quickly grooms you in the relationship. He kind of captivates you while being charming. He's grooming you for these things that are darker and heavier and consuming. When I say consuming, I mean mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, just everything. He said to me he wants to break my rib and barbecue and eat it. He says, I want to take a bite out of you. If I had a little cut on my hand, he'd like to suck it or lick it. That's about as weird as we got," end quote. And then she went on to say that after their relationship ended in an argument, she checked herself into a 30-day rehab program for PTSD.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I hope she's better
Can
because
you imagine?
he told
Y-
her it sounds like he did it. He wanted to cut her finger and fall asleep with it in his mouth so he could slowly drink her
And
blood
like,
all
let's
night.
be clear. If you want to have kinky sex, like, fine. You do you, boo. Ain't for me. But this is like next level crazy.
No, he openly said in these DMs from his
He
account,
said
even though
that
I'm sure
I'm
they'll
the
say it was
cannibal.
somebody else, I am 100% a cannibal. And then he wrote something like, "Gosh, that's so scary to admit," and then it just seems like he went off the deep end. But it sounds like he's had these sadomasochist issues for some time.
Yeah,
But
I
it
mean,
seems like the drug use and all of that has become so extreme that it's possible it created like a psychotic break or something
I
because
I could see that for sure. And then this was the best thing and I'm glad she came out and said this. I want to read you this too. Is the a writer Jessica um Sin Ciensen Hernandez. Her Oh my god, I can't pronounce.
Enriquez,
Enrique.
Jessica Ciensen Henriquez. That's hard to say. It's a pretty name
Okay,
though.
so she also briefly dated him last year. And so when all this stuff came out, she was quoted saying, "If you are still questioning whether or not those Armie Hammer DMs are real," and in parentheses, they are, "maybe you should start questioning why we live in a culture willing to give abusers the benefit of the doubt instead of the victims. Because some of you made it to adulthood without knowing what this is: abuse, cruel and violent treatment of a person or animal." She added on it. Oh, and then she added on Instagram, "It takes an army to hide a predator. Behind every abuser is a team of people working hard to cover up the trail." Good for her
Yeah.
for saying that because it's so true. We're all like, oh my God, this can't be true. He's so this, he's so that. And it's like, why are we not looking at these women? They're not going to, who pulls out, "I'm going to barbecue your ribs" out of their rear end? Like, do you know what I mean? I don't
Yeah, it is a level of abnormal behavior that I am certainly not comfortable with, and And the fact that he is in the position that he's in, she's absolutely right, first of all. And that's what I mean. Like, you've got a publicist, you've got all these people clamoring around to make sure this doesn't get out because he makes them millions and millions of dollars. For example, he has two blockbuster movies coming out. They
Oh,
pulled him from one, they pulled the other film. I would be shocked if he could ever get insured on a set again after doing allegedly either crack or crystal meth on film. Like,
that's wild.
nobody
Yes.
wants to take that risk.
On the film thing, it's interesting too because the the perception is he stepped away and Lionsgate gave us well, he said well there's two statements. So he was supposed to be in a movie with J-Lo and Lionsgate came out and said, given the imminent start of the shotgun wedding, Armie has requested to step away from the film and we support him in his decision. I think they
Mm,
probably were like, look, homie, you need to bounce. Like, this is
for
not
sure they
gonna work
fired
for
him.
us.
Yeah.
And it kind of irritates me that they would put on the front of like letting him step away. Like, stand up for what's right and maybe fire him.
Or
I don't
yeah,
know.
just say, We are very disturbed if
Yes.
these are real, but we support him in his
That's
decision
bullshit.
to go get help for wanting to barbecue women. This isn't just like a sex addict thing. This is a want to kill people. Like, well, allegedly. But on his Instagram, he also posts meat
I
constantly.
know.
He's
I
always
saw that.
barbecuing, and he's like, look at this. And he's like, look at all of that marbling. And he's clearly sexually attracted and turned on
And
by meat
knives. Yeah. And knives, meat and knives.
and
I was like,
knives.
I'd be terrified. And then so this went on for a few days and then he finally gave a statement, which I feel like you say, all people working for him are probably like, oh God. Because his
He
statement
had to have
was
called this in himself. Nobody would have okayed this statement. Nobody.
so it says, I'm not responding to these bullshit claims, but in light of the vicious and spurious, I don't know what that is. I'm terrible.
Spurious.
Spurious. Wow. I need to go back to school. Okay. But in light of this vicious and spurious online attacks against me, I cannot in good conscience now leave my children for 4 months to shoot a film in the Dominican Republic. Lionsgate is supporting me in this, and I'm grateful for them for that.
That's just wild to me. I mean, I can't imagine Lionsgate is okay with but maybe. I mean, this is
World we
after
live
all
in.
the industry that birthed Harvey Weinstein. So,
Mhm.
it's not as if that industry just flipped a switch and went, everything above board. So, there's lots of ways that these men can get protected and can get away with this kind of behavior. I mean, look at Donald Trump saying, I want you can just grab him by the pussy. Like, there is a group of men who
Yeah.
do believe that this power and notoriety gives them the right to treat a woman like a thing, like an object and not a human being with feelings and emotions. And it's upsetting. You're right. It's upsetting that they didn't immediately come out and say, we do not condone any of this.
Yeah. And I
But
mean,
he does have a family, so
yeah. Speaking of family, so it's so sad because, like you said earlier, like when you see him at these events, like with his kids, so you see all these pictures of his wife or ex-wife or estranged wife. They're not even divorced yet, I don't believe. Elizabeth Chambers and him, they look like this cookie cutter, beautiful
yeah.
family. I can't even imagine what she's going through, but she hasn't come out and said anything, but according to some magazines, this one in particular, it says an insider. So, I don't know how truthful this is,
It's
but it
her using a
sounds
different
like,
voice.
yeah. So it says, an insider told the Sun, quote, everything is just so crazy and disturbing right now. Elizabeth is doing the best that can be expected. Her kids are her number one priority. She's been going through hell and is just trying to protect them. His behavior is atrocious. She's willing to fight for her family and repair what he readily threw away until it became very clear to her he no longer valued their vows or family.
I feel so badly for
Because
her.
not only is he just like a bad husband, but now he's a total lunatic.
Yeah, and
And
she
how do
has
you protect
children
your
with him.
children? Like,
Ugh,
there's no way. I think you're having supervised visits, if anything. Like, no.
absolutely, which she does, and she, since he showed the divorce proceedings, which I think you're right. I think they're still fighting over custody or alimony or something like that. But oof, I can't imagine trying to keep this from your children. It's no wonder. That's probably another reason she went to the Cayman Islands. A lot of celebrities go to those islands. It must be easy to shield from paparazzi, or maybe
Yeah.
they have tougher laws or something like that, because I'm sure people are trying to get pictures of her, which is awful. And then, oh, just everything she's going through. And then COVID, she's probably got her kids at home, and ooh, I can't imagine what that woman is going through. And then some people are jumping on her like she had to have known. How did she not know?
That
Maybe she
drives
did,
me
maybe she didn't. There's definitely a possibility she didn't, because there are men who marry a woman and then on the side do all the funky stuff with other people, and the woman is just totally naive.
so, and I didn't put it in front of me, so there is a quote out there, you can find it, but it's something along the lines, Army's in an interview, and he says something to the effect of like he used to be into kinky, like BDSM type sex, is like, and then you get married, he's like your sexual appetite changes. He's like, you can't just like strangle your wife because you have a different level of respect for her. I think that's probably what happened. Like I don't think she had any idea. No woman, I mean, there are some, but no respectable woman is going to have children with
Yeah.
someone who's threatening to like eat eat your bones or blood or whatever. Like, whew.
Yes.
So and that's again, it goes kind of to like a victim blaming thing. This is not her fault. Let's hold the person who's acting like a crazy person
Yeah.
accountable. It's
And yeah, there are several women too. I think like four different women from last year that he had DM'd and was like allegedly speaking with and saying these types of things to. So it's not as if it was just a one-time thing. He
yeah,
did this frequently, and he did this while they were married. And uh I can't imagine. I wonder, imagine if it was a total shock to her and she didn't know any of this stuff. He kept all of it from her, because that would be an added layer of protection, right? If somebody came forward, which maybe somebody has in the past, she would think like, what are they talking about? I
yeah.
wouldn't, she wouldn't believe it. So
But
these
now,
type of narcissistic personalities know how to protect themselves and how to manipulate people with zero conscience and no care for what the fallout is.
yeah, it's wild. It'll be really interesting to see if, I mean, can you be it can't be, I mean, what would they arrest him for? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there criminal charges that could come against this? Is it a level of sexual abuse that you can like hold him accountable? I mean, I'd be really interested to see like what the potential consequences would be other than being blackballed by Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't know about the things he was saying he would do to girls, or if any of those women have pictures of injuries or anything like that, because he was threatening them, but
But
yeah, I
any
don't
good
know.
defense lawyer is going to be like, it's just to pretend,
Yeah,
it's just role play or whatever. So
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out for sure. But I couldn't believe it when it first came
Oh
out.
my gosh, it has been fascinating, that's for sure.
Okay, so another quick pivot as we get into our true crime topic. I just think it's very interesting. So it's been in the news that this last week on January 13th, Lisa Montgomery was the first woman to be injected by or executed by lethal injection. She was the first female to be in federal inmate that was, oh my god, she was the first female federal inmate in 67 years to be executed by the government, and fourth overall. So let me give you a little bit of a background before I ask you these questions.
Okay, yeah, what was she charged with?
So Lisa Montgomery in 2004 had, and again, I don't remember what, like, I think online at that time was more forums and that kind of thing. So she
Yeah.
was on a forum for dog breeders, and I think specifically rat terriers. Pretend she was coming off saying her name was Darlene Fisher, and she was kind of what it sounds like later, scouting out the people on this forum and had found this one woman on the forum. Her name's Bobby Jo Stinnett, had said, because she was a breeder, had said she was pregnant. And shortly after that announcement, this Darlene Fisher, who is Lisa Montgomery, using an alias, had reached
Mhm.
out to her, that kind of private messaging kind of thing, saying, "Oh, I'm also the same amount of pregnancy." And she tried to bond with her that way, and also pretending to be interested in getting one of her dogs. And so they built kind of a little bit of a rapport where it's weird because online you could talk to someone a few times and feel some level of safety, even
Yeah.
though they're fully full of shit. And
Well, especially if you're going through something as big as pregnancy, and
right.
you're the same amount you're just as far along as the other person, there's a lot you can talk about.
Yeah. So on the day, I'm gonna kind of go backwards here. The Bobby Joe's mom came over to her house and she walks into the most disturbing thing anyone would ever see, and it's her daughter, Bobby Joe, laying on the floor. And she, on the 911 call, says it looks like she exploded. I mean, yes.
So this Bobby Joe's mother found her?
Found her
This
daughter.
is her mother. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
So then, she says when the EMTs come in, she's 8 months pregnant, you have to help her, all these things. And EMTs quickly realize that the umbilical cord is cut and there's no baby. And they're like,
Oh.
we have a newborn we have to find. And so the FBI get involved because they don't know if it's into state lines, like what's going on.
And the mother was dead. She was
Bobby Joe did
no.
not survive. She was
Okay.
23 years old.
Oh my god.
So sad, dude. So,
Hmm.
it starts the investigation, all these things. And the most random thing is, so there was like the lead that broke it all was someone on the breeder forum had said that she saw these two interacting. Oh, so maybe it wasn't a private message, it's probably on like the forum. And she
Yeah.
said, I think they had even put on the forum the day they were supposed to meet. And this lady was like, that's real coincidental that they're meeting at the time that she was killed. So
Wow.
yeah, so she reached out to FBI and they did a little bit of digging and finally found Lisa Montgomery, who was Darlene Fisher. Lisa Montgomery's the real name. And they come in.
Thank goodness for that person in the forum.
Mhm.
Wow, they're a hero.
So they find, they go to her house and they walk in. The husband answers the door. They get themselves in there, and she's just sitting on the couch with a newborn, like just la
Oh
di
my
da.
gosh.
And the officers interviewed, and it's a TV show called Solved, and the episode is called Life and Death. But he was interviewed, and he was saying they, asked if they could take the baby, and she willingly just handed the baby over. And he said, "No mother of a
No.
newborn baby is going to just hand over their kid." He's like, so
No.
right there, they were like, And then when they looked at the baby, she had a cut above her eye and like right here. So when she was being
Mm.
taken, so they knew at that point, like, this is the baby. And they, they got the baby medical attention. She's alive, healthy to this day,
Wow.
was raised by her dad. She's never once been interviewed to date that I could find, which is great. I'm glad they've like covered her privacy. They took
Wow.
Lisa Montgomery in for questioning. They said so this was 17 hours later is when they found her. So it was fairly quickly. And they said that she still had blood in her nail cuticles. And the cop was like, she didn't even have the courtesy to wash her flippin' hands before she's showing this newborn baby off. That was the thing. She was like out and that earlier in the day, like showing her new baby off because she had been, well, I'll get there, but she was faking a pregnancy. And there's a term for it. And that's what her defense ends up using is like the term, it's like pseudocyesis or something. And it's a mental disorder that says that you think that you're pregnant and you're really pregnant, and that's what could lead to something like this. But
Wow.
they found that she had such a level of pre-planning and uh just it didn't seem like a mental break. It was like she planned weeks.
It was premeditated.
Yeah, she ordered a home birthing kit so she didn't have to go to a hospital to get a birth certificate. Like, there's a lot of
Wow.
thought into something like that, you know?
Yeah, because I was gonna say, clearly she's just severely mentally ill, but that not with that type of behavior. That's clear, methodical planning.
Yeah. So she's arrested and all that stuff. So and anyways, in the middle, and I felt so bad. So she had two older, like teenage daughters, and they were in the courtroom and they knew what had happened, right? They'd heard the details, but when they started showing pictures of Bobby Joe, her kids just lost it and were like, I cannot believe my mother did something like this. Like,
Ugh.
just beyond. I can't even imagine the
She had
trauma.
just those two daughters.
So I'm sorry, I keep calling her by her fake name.
Lisa.
Lisa Montgomery had two teenage daughters, and even one of the daughters was saying when this all happened, they were like self-blaming, like, what did we do wrong to make her go do something that's horrible? And it's just like
Wow.
you don't realize the ripple effect of something like this. It's like not only does the poor victim and her family and this child and all this stuff, but you as the person, doing all of this, you're affecting all of these people in your life. So
Oh, it destroys both sides.
it's
Absolutely.
so sad. And then, she Lisa, and this is where I think, and I couldn't find like a definite she has been diagnosed with any mental disorder. I promise you there is something going on there.
Yeah.
But she had zero reaction in the courtroom. Like, even when they're showing these pictures, jurors are crying during testimonies and she's just,
Well, that makes me think she's mentally ill because
yeah,
she and antipsychotic, which is what they would give her in prison, it makes you like, have you ever heard of lithium? Like, remember the Nirvana song
yeah,
Lithium? It just makes you blah. You have no
yeah,
ups, no downs. You're just dead on the inside. So it's very possible they medicated
yeah,
her.
that would be interesting.
And they don't use like the newest medications. They'll use
Yeah,
like old stuff,
right.
or she's not medicated at all and she doesn't have a conscience. But um
Well,
yeah,
she never
sometimes I know
apologized.
people judge the person, but sometimes they're being medicated.
Yeah, but and then she never came out to apologize to anyone. She's never apologized for her behavior, for even just like the classic, like, I got caught. I'm sorry, I got caught. Kind of nothing. There's been nothing.
She
So,
already had two daughters. It's
so
so
this is what, sorry, and
strange.
I kind of cut, but so this is what started. So her ex-husband, she had an ex-husband, his name was Carl. And they ended things, and he was later quoted saying she was a total liar, like a pathological liar. She's a manipulator. She does all these crazy things. And when he found out that she was pregnant, which she was actually sterile, and he knew that because she had had a surgery, like her, what is it? Your fallopian tubes were
Yeah.
like cut or taken out, and that's like a whole other thing. But she
A
physically could
hysterectomy?
not, it didn't say hysterectomy. He said something like she had them cut. So I don't know what that means, but she was sterile, couldn't have kids. And so he's like, you're faking a pregnancy. You cannot have a baby. What are you doing? You're going to get caught. And then that's what they think spiraled her into, I have to show that I'm a baby. I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I have a baby. It's just
Wow.
wild. It's just
Oh.
wild. So that's the crime in a nutshell.
So she
But
was convicted in 2008. She was
yeah.
sentenced to death in 2008.
Yeah, so she was, found guilty in 2007, and then and shortly after she was then, sentenced to death. And then they just did that. And then there was her family was like pleading to Trump to like save her. No response, obviously. And so she was given the lethal injection on January 13th.
She was the 11th federal death row inmate to be executed by the Trump administration after a 17-year hiatus on all federal executions. So we haven't been doing this for quite some time, and the Trump administration really ramped it up.
Yeah. It's This one is hard for me because when I'm using my rational brain, I don't think that I believe in the death penalty. I feel like someone should live their life in punishment, but then there's also, I don't have a strong stance on this because I can talk myself out of it and into it. And it's like, well, then they're in jail and then they have TV and they can do all these things and they still have a life. But it's like, if that was my daughter, I would have killed you myself. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, you probably just don't deserve to be on this earth because of what you did and how horrible it was. Oh, that was the other thing. She was researching how to perform a cesarean.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's really hard when you hear stories like this or torture or murder of children. It's hard, but my whole life I've been very much against the death penalty. My mom always was, and she just always said, "We are Christians. We're told not to kill. With bottom
Yeah.
line, you don't kill." And but in the same sentence, she would say the same thing. If it was one of you girls, it's a different story. So you don't really know until you get into that situation. But and then the added fact of it's more expensive
I
to execute
know.
them than to keep them in prison. It's like that's a no-brainer to me. Keep them in
Yeah.
prison. Trust me, it's not a great life. They're
Yeah. No,
not
I
living
know.
in luxury, but just because they're doing it, I'm just not an eye for an eye type of person.
Same. And I think that comes from people that have like where you have a conscience. Like you don't want to be responsible for something like that. You don't want to say, yeah, they deserved what they, because it's like our natural, like the natural reaction, I think, is to not kill each other. And so
Yeah.
when that happens, you're like, well, I can understand, but like I don't think I could ever support it. I don't it's and I can see why this is such a debate all the time
Yes.
because I literally can be like over here and then I'm over
Yeah.
here.
You can debate it with yourself for
Oh,
sure. I think about
that's
it all the time because you don't know how you would be in that situation. So you can't judge other people, but you also can't deny the fact that there's so many people in prison that did nothing in this country. So that's another thing. If the criminal justice system was on point and majority of the time did the right thing, okay, maybe that would be something that would make more sense, but not with how many innocent people there are on death row even.
it's so crazy. And I feel like, and I don't have it in front of me, but there's two people that just got exonerated from death row. Did you see this? And do you know
Yeah,
who it is?
Kim Kardashian, I mean, she's doing something. I think she's sitting back and thinking, what is my legacy? I've got a sex tape. And all of the stuff she's doing, like, say what you want to say about her.
No,
She's
she's
literally getting her law degree,
yep.
and she has been hounding Trump. And she urged him to start doing this. And
Yeah.
he got so much publicity when she took that
Yeah.
picture with him. And I know that she got him to stop, I think, 2 executions. I think he stopped them yesterday or whatever, and then a whole bunch of pardons, and Lil Wayne got pardoned. Did you see that?
No, but I
Kodak
did
Black.
see, I was gonna ask you because I don't know the guy, but Snoop came out and was saying he was thankful for his friend's pardon. But when I saw, I don't know the crimes, I'm not familiar, but his charges were attempted murder and
Yeah.
something to do with drugs, I think. But like, why are we pardoning an attempted murderer?
Oh, why are we pardoning Steve Bannon, who stole $25 million? I mean, it's Trump.
Yeah.
It's not like
I
pretty much
just,
always the pardons. There's some that are controversial,
yeah.
but I mean, whatever.
I don't know. But yeah, so interesting. That's like been the news the last week. And I just thought, like, wow, there's a lot going on in the world. And this is just like a little bitty part of it. But
It
I don't
just
know.
and also because statistically it's so rare for women to murder and to murder in such a personal way and to murder potentially a child. And oof,
Well,
everything about
yeah.
that is just that's a heavy story. And I'm surprised I haven't seen more datelines and 2020s about it.
Yeah, okay, so when I Googled, because I like to watch things and I'm just constantly watching true crime. And the only episode I saw about it was this solved episode that I talked about earlier. And
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it is such a like crazy headline, right? Like woman snatches baby out of pregnant lady belly. Like it's just the most horrific thing. But I'm wondering now that she was executed, I wonder if now they'll put something out there. Maybe they were waiting for the final piece of the puzzle to kind of fall into play. Because Dateline does that all the time where they'll record things,
Yeah.
sit on it for a few years, and then update it and publish it or whatever. So maybe.
Yeah, it's funny how there's so many people I've learned just through doing this podcast friends that don't normally listen to true crime have listened, and they say, they're like, they didn't catch them at the
I
end. Like,
know.
what's the ending? And I'm so surprised. I'm like, wait, don't you know that most crime is unsolved? And people are like, what?
I know.
So it's kind of wild how often the story is not solved, but that's kind of why we like to try to help solve it or what have you. But yeah, those episodes where it's all wrapped up, that's what my husband likes. If there's no like conclusion at the end, he just gets mad at me for making him watch
It's
it.
so funny. So I don't watch like Vanished is so frustrating to me, but I like to learn about cases that are ongoing because like you say, like the more attention it can get, the more likely maybe someone hears something, knows something, it can help
Yeah.
be a part of the solution.
Mhm.
And that to me is so gratifying. Like I mean, I wish I knew something to like help some, you know what I mean? Like it's just it's amazing the power that we can have if we can get the word out on certain cases to people and if people listen and know. So I don't know, I think it's just amazing.
Yeah.
We live in such
You
an
know what's
amazing
funny?
time in that sense that like the word can get out so fast and quickly.
Absolutely. And there are people like you and I who clearly have no credentials, but we are naturally inclined to seek the truth, and we really love justice. And why not use some of that? For example, not to get political at all, but with the Capitol riots, almost nobody was wearing masks, and there's just oodles and oodles of footage. And so tons of people have been going out, even in our county. There's like blasts on Facebook saying, found this person, found that person, because these people are behind their keyboards
Yep.
and they're just looking, and then they
Yep.
find the person's Facebook, and then they just send it to the FBI. And I'm like, it's pretty awesome.
Amazing. It's amazing. And
Yeah.
I think this is what you liked so much about the Don't F with Cats. Like I never watched it, but it wasn't that part of it. Like online sleuths, like finding
Yes, they
the
solved it.
amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. So
Um
there is something to this true crime. Don't feel
to-
bad about it. You're learning, and you might just solve one someday.
that's my
I
hope.
really want to.
I want
I
to.
know.
Okay,
I
totally off
know.
topic. Well, kind of. Did you see that Netflix is doing is it an episode or a series? It's probably like a short documentary on Hotel Cecile and Elise Lamb.
No, yeah,
It's
Eliza Lamb or Elise
I think it's
Lamb,
Elise.
one or the others.
Anyways, I'm so
I
excited.
did. So I didn't see exactly what it is, but so this is the hotel that's in downtown Los Angeles, and it was in which season of your show?
Oh gosh, it's American Horror Story. I think it was like season 8. I have no idea. We're going into season 10 right now. It was a few seasons ago, but it was I meant to look up if they actually did any filming in there because I was looking at pictures from the lobby. They either recreated it really well
No,
or they actually filmed in the lobby area because
I'm
it
almost positive
looks
Ryan Murphy got in there and filmed in there. I'm
it's
almost positive.
it's so crazy. So I went down a total rabbit hole. So we've told this story before. We went there, we were set outside and you can just feel the bad juju. Randomly last night, actually, I happened to go, I don't know why I didn't do this before, but I went on Yelp and started reading people's reviews that have
Oh my
actually stayed
gosh.
there. So there's two parts. So it was bought out and it was changed to stay on Main. And then they're
Which was the short-term rental, which is always bad news. You know who stayed there? Richard Ramirez, the
right.
Night Stalker.
So, well, it was still hotels to steal. But anyways, so they're and it's been on pause, all the construction, and they're gonna be reopening it in 2021 or
Mm-hmm.
2022. By the way, um, I just lost my train of thought. What
You said
the Yelp reviews. And so
yes.
it's so funny because there you can go back to like 2014 and stuff, and people are like, just it supposedly is like the nastiest, most disgusting. Like you had to share bathrooms. Like not all the rooms have their own bathrooms. You had to like share, and the sink like fell off on somebody. Like I mean, it is just a total rundown, dirty. But also people had said the same thing. Like locals have gone outside of it, and it like radiates bad energy. It's the
Oh my gosh, I
weirdest
could
thing.
feel it when we were there. We walked up and it was just I believe it was built in 1920, and I think I looked it up when we went, and I feel like it was very fancy when it
Yeah.
first opened, because downtown Los Angeles was like all a buzz. That's where they had all of the premieres, and Marilyn Monroe would be there and that sort of thing. So
So what
I think
yeah, it was like very luxurious and it was built for business people, but then the Great Depression hit and that's
yeah,
when they had to start letting like whoever could whoever and whomever, and then that's I think the start of the history of who stayed there and what's happened there. And if you don't know, please go listen. Or maybe we'll do like a little short video for Instagram or something about like all the things that have happened there because it's wild.
we need to
But
cover Eliza
it's
Lamb. That's
also,
a really
yes,
intense case.
but also it's been the city of Los Angeles deemed it a historical site. So it'll be there forever, which
Good.
is interesting because it's bad juju. But at the same time, I really want to go look at the lobby. I heard the inside of the lobby is actually beautiful and it's
Yeah.
like restored.
Art Deco.
Yeah, and I love that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll be back when it's stay
Yeah,
on
because
me, but we'll be
we
back.
went to the doors, but the doors wouldn't open, first of all, and they were the kind of doors that like you walk up and they open, right? And
Well,
it
so what had
wasn't
happened is
working, and
they
some of them
said
were chained.
so everything was like closed down. It said closed, I think, and you weren't supposed to go in there. And we're standing outside, and I was like, "Do we do it? Do we not do it?" And we weren't sure if it was going to open. And then all of a sudden, like a delivery person walked in, and we were like,
Yeah.
"Should we go?" And then I got scared. I chickened out because I was like, "I don't want to get arrested, like for trespassing or something." I don't know.
Well, there was nobody in the lobby. It was just one UPS man going in, and we're like, "Where's he going?" Because there were no lights on. There was nobody in there. The other doors were like locked shut, and we were like, If we go in, can we ever get out?"
That was the other thing. We were like, "I don't want to get stuck here."
Yeah, because there's
Oh,
ghosts in there for sure.
yes.
Yeah. So
So
we'll do something to cover that. And also, if you haven't watched it, Night Stalker on
I
Netflix,
know. I heard okay, so I
fantastic.
did hear it was some people were supposedly complaining that it was like too much. Do you agree or disagree?
Too much? In
Yeah.
what way? Too graphic?
Now that I said that, it was too either too graphic or too much about maybe it was too graphic in terms of like they get into detail about things.
Maybe because so I've always followed everything about Richard Ramirez because I lived where he was at the time, and I'd
Yeah,
hear my dad's stories about being petrified. And I just lost my train of thought.
we're so good today.
Oh, I know. So you heard about the murders and the things like that, but I had no idea how many children he assaulted. So when he was younger in the beginning, he would take little girls, keep them for a while, and then like one he released, and she speaks on the documentary, and it is um more than
I'll
intense.
say
But
I had no
people
idea.
need to listen to that
Yeah.
because it happens, and it's annoying to me. I was talking to my sister and I was like, we never really heard about all the things he did to children. And also they always say assault and they don't say rape, and it's almost like it's sugarcoating what exactly it is, but they do. That's what they talked a lot about, and I'm sure that that was very uncomfortable for people. It should be. What's going
So
on?
I'm like, either the wind has really picked up or something's happening outside. I'm like,
I think it's the wind. It's supposed to be like 55 to 90-mile-an-hour winds
oh
in
man.
LA.
Anyway, so on that note, I'm gonna watch it. I'm definitely, and I hate that people think he was like good looking because his teeth are like clink, 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 clink,
Oh, he's
clink, like
terrifying looking.
he's gross. But
What's wrong with those women? The women would come
we're gonna
and
do a
flirt with
whole
him.
episode on that. We are coming back because it is
I don't
crazy.
understand it.
But we have to get back to mom life.
Yes,
So
we
this
do.
was fun. Some things coming up. I think we've got Tessa Majors coming in the next
Yes.
week-ish. And
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, stay tuned for that. And as always, please subscribe to us, whether it's here or it's on the podcast platform. Once you're subscribed, you will always be at least notified when there's new content here so that you can keep up to date if you so choose. And I love the positive comments. Listen, I'll take the negative ones. We're here for to learn also, but
Yeah.
nice. It's okay to be nice
Yeah.
and have a different of opinions and all that stuff. But
Oh, yeah, happy to debate, just not
yeah,
looking to be
like
put
we said,
down.
we don't have we don't have degrees or we're not professionals. We're here giving our opinions because we're truly invested in these things. And I know that sounds
Yeah.
crazy, but like we really are. You don't understand. I should like screenshot our messages someday for people because it's like, did you see this? Like last night, great example. We were just bing, 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 bing for different articles of like stuff that's going on.
And we're so invested. Like Jenna was so convinced that Alexis Sharkey was not the husband. When
Yeah.
I sent it to her, she said, it doesn't say anywhere in that article that that's what happened. And I was like, oh my God, I had to send her 2 more articles to prove it to her. It's like, she's such a Taurus. Like, no, nope. What I think is what happened.
Because I do find sometimes when you hear like you see the title and then you're like that I don't see where you got that from. Like where is the
Yeah.
information? I need to see.
It was a particularly mundane release of information.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't much there, but anyway.
Oh, and on that note, just really quick, because we both have to jump off. But speaking of last night's text messages, we did see that in Jennifer Dulo's case, which we did in season
Yes.
1, right? I don't remember
Yes.
now. We did in season 1. It's a crazy case. But they have what's called a bone finder, helping authorities right now, like in current time, helping to look in. Was it their home? Is it the home?
It's a
Or is it
specific
a
home
wooded
site.
area?
I'm not sure if it's one of his flips or if it was one that they lived on, but it was a very specific area. And somebody who lives in the area said like there's going to be an announcement soon.
So stay
So
tuned for that. That'll maybe be
yes.
on our next episode. We'll do a little update depending on what comes out. But that's all. So thank you guys for joining us again. Subscribe. See you next time. Bye.
Bye. Trust your gut.
Yes, trust your gut.